Hello, howdy there, everyone. It's GleeCon, and I am here again bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thanks a whole bunch for tuning in. So you'll see right here we have a screen ahead, kind of like last episode and like some of the other ones that we've had recently. This is going to be one of our shorts today, a short lore, kind of technically a non-canon lore at this point in this series. So we cover everything on this show, Lore of Warcraft. We do massive playthroughs of all the games. We're deep in a World of Warcraft Classic playthrough on deck. My next up episode in that is going to be a full clear for the Alliance side of the Scarlet Crusade. Work is not allowing that to be practical this week right now, so that's probably going to have to wait until Friday. I think I'm going to beg a pass from the wife and put the time in for that Friday. But I have really, really long work days. I had one today and I have one tomorrow. And when I got home today, I was wiped. So I almost wasn't going to make a record, but I felt like tomorrow I'm going to be even more tired and I would be less likely to do it tomorrow than I was today. So I felt like we'd at least squeeze one more out. And as gross as that phrasing is. So we've done a couple of these. This is the old defunct World of Warcraft Encyclopedia. It doesn't exist anymore. We did the entry on the trolls, the historic trolls, and we did the entries on Cenarius. I didn't actually realize that when you look at the main lore sheet created by Acaria X Reaper, something like that, who's one of my just Bibles that I use for all the lore. He has every one of these bullet points listed differently, so there's actually a lot less than I thought there was going to be because these all kind of pile up, but they're all time periods that we've covered before. So today we're going to cover the old Warcraft Encyclopedia entries on the Night Elves. So stay a while and listen as we get into that. They are also known as the Kaldorei, singular form, also Kaldorei, or Night Elf. Their primary language is Darnassian. 10,000 years before the First War, the world of Azeroth cradled only one massive continent, a supercontinent, if you will, Kalimdor. At the dark continent's center was a mysterious lake of incandescent energies. This lake came to be known as the Well of Eternity. So the first entry that we would have read right now is called The Development of the Kaldorei, but we're going to actually read all of them because I think it's silly to read like a 4-sentence episode. Maybe if I was doing YouTube shorts, we could do it that way. That might be a fun idea, but I don't know. In time, a primitive tribe of nocturnal humanoids were drawn by the well's strange energies, those humanoids we speculated on the last one of these to be the trolls, and built crude homes upon its tranquil shores. Over time, the well's cosmic power affected the tribe, making them strong, wise, and immortal. Their skin turned various shades of violet, and they grew taller in stature. The tribe adopted the name Kaldorei, which meant children of the stars in their native tongue. The Kaldorei, or Night Elves as they would later be known, worshipped Elune, goddess of the moon, and believed that she slept within the well's shimmering depths during the daylight hours. The early Night Elf priests and seers studied the well with great curiosity, and the ongoing research of the well became a facet of Night Elf society, which explains all the Moonwell things that you do in the classic questing. The Well of Eternity also caused the Night Elves' eyes to glow with a silver or golden radiance. Their vision became preternaturally sensitive to light and motion. Contrary to what a casual observer might believe, Night Elf eyes still have pupils, just as the eyes of many other humanoid races do. These pupils can be difficult to discern, particularly under certain lighting or from certain angles. More importantly, the Night Elves learned the art of spellcasting, using the energies of the Well of Eternity. The Night Elves' magic quickly allowed them to establish a strong empire. As the Night Elves claimed further territory, they came into conflict with the trolls in the area, who had long dominated much of ancient Kalimdor. Unable to master arcane magic quickly enough to counter the Night Elves' sudden and fierce attacks, the trolls were forced to retreat. Thus was born the long-standing feud between Night Elves and really all elves and trolls, an enmity which persists to this day, because all other elves really come from the Night Elves. Okay, this entry is called Night Elves and Trolls. Are Night Elves descended from trolls? The Night Elf race was formed so long ago that no hard evidence has surfaced to answer this question, although it has been asked many times. All that is known for certain is that a tribe of nocturnal humanoids came to live on the shores of the first Well of Eternity and the well's cosmic energies changed them into the Night Elves we know today. Certainly, many trolls do believe that the humanoids who developed into the Night Elf race were trolls. The theory does have some credibility, for there is at least a superficial physical resemblance between trolls and Night Elves. Furthermore, the troll race dominated much of ancient Kalimdor several millennia before the Night Elves came into power. Nevertheless, many Night Elves find this theory preposterous and abhorrent. They are quick to point out that the first Night Elves began their rise to power by defeating a number of nearby troll tribes. I don't think that's mutually exclusive, though. As a consequence, the trolls came to fear and respect the might of their new rivals. The troll theory of Night Elf ancestry may have been a direct result of this early conflict. The trolls hated the Night Elves, a sentiment that persists to this day, and may have wished to marginalize the Night Elf race and its accomplishments. Also, attributing the Night Elf race with a troll heritage likely helped the trolls come to terms with their own shocking defeat. Without additional data, there is little point in debating the merits of this controversial theory. No doubt it will remain a matter of contention for years to come. I mean, and what's it really matter? Obviously, if we're looking from like an evolutionary perspective, they probably share a common ancestor, whether or not they branched off, and maybe the trolls branched a little first, or the trolls evolved and then these guys were offshoots of the trolls. It's purely an academic argument. This entry is called Arcane Magic and Its Consequences. The Night Elves studied the energies of the well for over 1,000 years before Queen Azshara came to the throne. By that time, one caste of Night Elf nobility had risen to prominence. Under Azshara's reign, members of that caste began calling themselves the Highborn. The name pleased Azshara, for she too was a member of the highest caste, and she approved the term for official use. Many Highborn were obsessed with the well, and with Azshara's approval, they devoted themselves to studying it day and night. Their reckless use of arcane magic eventually caught the attention of Sargeras, who easily corrupted the arrogant Highborn. Captivated by the Dark Titan, the Highborn helped the Burning Legion invade Azeroth. Countless Night Elves and other creatures died during the resulting War of the Ancients. In the end, the remaining Night Elves managed to defeat the Legion with the help of many allies and several heroes, including High Priestess Tyrande Whisperwind, Malfurion Stormrage, and Illidan Stormrage, as well as time travelers that we read about. Some of the Highborn regretted their choice to aid the Legion and managed to escape the capital city Zin-Azshari before the Well of Eternity imploded and triggered the Great Sundering, also plunging them into the seas and possibly generating the Naga race. Afterwards, arcane magic was outlawed on pain of death, but the Highborn arrogantly continued their dangerous sorcery. Rather than execute their defiant kindred, Tyrande and Malfurion sentenced the Highborn to exile. The exiles journeyed over the sea to Lordaeron, where they founded the kingdom of Quel'Thalas and began calling themselves High Elves. You also have the ones that did not necessarily fully escape, but maybe lived in island nations, kind of near Zandalari, that kind of thing. So you have really two elf races that splinter off already, the Highborn and the High Elves. And the Naga. So a lot are kind of shooting off from this incident. Okay, this entry is A New Beginning. Most of the remaining Night Elves had had enough of aristocracy and arcane magic. Such things were seen as relics of a decadent and shameful past. Even so, Illidan created a second Well of Eternity, for he did not believe that arcane magic was inherently dangerous. Most of the other Night Elves disagreed, however, and so Illidan was imprisoned. 3 of the dragon aspects grew the first world tree Nordrassil atop the well, so that the tree, which was linked to the Emerald Dream, would act as a regulator on the well's magic. Nordrassil also bestowed a number of the gifts upon the Night Elves, including continued immortality. And remember, it was only 3 of the 5 because the Black Flight and Neltharion had defected and became Deathwing, and the Blue were shattered, and Malygos was gone and crazy and left. Tyrande led the drive to reorganize Night Elf government. She believed that her order, the Sisterhood of Elune, had been too distant from the day-to-day affairs of their people. In her opinion, this distance had been partly to blame for the catastrophic war. The Sisterhood was greatly revered for its combat and healing skills, and its members had trained as warriors and scholars for generations. Furthermore, the Sisterhood was one of the few sizable Night Elf groups to survive the war. Better yet, membership and rank among the Sisterhood had never been based upon family bloodlines. Inevitably, Tyrande decided that her order should take on greater societal responsibilities. Never again would the Sisters of Elune fail in their duty to guide their people. Disbanding the former Night Elf army, most of which had been based on lineage rather than ability, Tyrande organized a new army called the Sentinels. This army is still directed by the Sisters of Elune, and thus Tyrande has been sole head of the Night Elf government throughout the ensuing millennia. Meanwhile, Tyrande's mate Malfurion taught the Druidic arts to other Night Elves. This small group of Druids dedicated themselves to preserving the balance of nature on Azeroth. Highly respected by the rest of Night Elf society, the Druids are nevertheless outside of it, for they answer to no government. Today, the Cenarian Circle welcomes members from a variety of different races. Well, today, yes. Back then, just the Tauren. But the organization has no governmental authority over any of these races. Okay, this entry is called the Third War. Ashamed of the catastrophe their people had brought to Azeroth, the Night Elves withdrew to their forests and remained isolated there for approximately 10,000 years. Then their solitude was shattered by the arrival of War Chief Thrall and the Horde, along with a large group of human refugees led by Lady Jaina Proudmoore. Tyrande was infuriated by the intruders who trespassed upon lands that had belonged to the Night Elves alone for millennia. The Horde in particular not only chopped down vast stretches of forest, but also slew the demigod Cenarius. Tyrande led the Sentinels into battle against the mortal invaders, only to discover that the Burning Legion had followed the invaders to Kalimdor. The Legion had launched a new invasion upon the world. The High Priestess and her soldiers raced to waken all the Druids slumbering in the Emerald Dream, including Malfurion. With some encouragement from Medivh, the Night Elves saw the wisdom of uniting their forces with the humans and orcs. The three armies fought the Demon Lord Archimonde and his minions as they advanced on the summit of Mount Hyjal and the Well of Eternity that Archimonde sought to plunder. Together, the armies delayed the Legion until the Night Elves had empowered Nordrassil with the magic of their immortality and the energies of countless Night Elf spirits. Then the World Tree gave off a massive burst of energy that killed Archimonde instantly. Without their commander, the Burning Legion crumbled and was defeated. Nordrassil and the Second Well of Eternity still stand. The Night Elves' noble sacrifice has cost them their immortality. Under the leadership of Archdruid Fandral Staghelm, the Cenarian Circle has grown a second World Tree, Teldrassil, in the hopes of restoring what the Night Elves have lost. Thus far, those hopes have proven fruitless. Currently, the Night Elves are members of the Alliance. And Fandral Staghelm's kind of a jerk, and Teldrassil's kind of rotten. This entry is called Silver Eyes, Golden Eyes. Before the Sundering, golden eyes were extremely rare among the Night Elves. Golden eyes thus came to be regarded as a sign of future greatness. Both Queen Azshara and Illidan had these unusual eyes. Unfortunately, the falsehood of this widespread belief was only to become clear after these two infamous individuals had reached their dark fates. In truth, golden eyes were a sign of a strong druidic potential. Little wonder that pre-Sundering Night Elves, with their emphasis on the arcane, did not understand the significance of these unusual eyes. Simply having this potential did not guarantee that the potential would be sensed or understood, much less wielded with skill and compassion. Despite his golden eyes, Illidan struggled with the druidic arts, though he, like Malfurion, was tutored by Cenarius. Innate druidic power does not necessarily lead to becoming a druid, and lacking that innate power does not preclude becoming a druid. Indeed, Malfurion was born with eyes that glowed silver, but he studied druidism, and his wholehearted dedication gave him a power and skill far beyond most druids. As he continued to use druidic magic, his eyes acquired the golden incandescence that had once been so coveted by other Night Elves. Golden eyes quickly became far more common. After the Sundering, Night Elves abandoned their former obsession with bloodlines, and so the number of Night Elves born with golden eyes increased significantly. In addition, the Night Elves resolved to be more respectful of Azeroth, and a number of Night Elf men followed in Malfurion's footsteps. These new druids eventually also had golden eyes. Traditionally, Night Elf women served their people as warriors, hunters, and protectors. Many spellcasting vocations, on the other hand, were generally considered the realm of Night Elf men. Only since the devastating casualties of the Third War have these conventional gender roles been set aside. Because druids only recently opened their ranks to women, golden eyes remain somewhat more prevalent among Night Elf men than their female counterparts. Final entry about the Night Elves in the old Warcraft Encyclopedia, called Elves in General. Both Blood Elves and High Elves are descended from Night Elves. Nevertheless, due to their shared history and philosophical differences, the three groups do not share a close relationship. Indeed, Night Elves regard High Elves and Blood Elves with suspicion, disgust, or outright hostility. Nevertheless, Night Elves do share some characteristics with their High Elf and Blood Elf brethren. All three groups have unusually acute senses and are able to see clearly even in low light conditions. As a general rule, elves are also slim, athletic, and graceful. Furthermore, they all have large pointed ears that tend to be greeted with admiration or mockery by other races. One similarity between Night Elves, High Elves, and Blood Elves has only recently come about. The Night Elves sacrificed their immortality and much of their power at the end of the Third War. Thus, all elves are now mortal and have comparable lifespans that can extend as long as several thousand years. Wow. I didn't realize they still had the 1,000-year part going on. Cool. All right, guys, this was awesome. This was another episode in the pipe, 5x5. I thank you so much for watching, for listening, and for tuning in. And I will see you all soon on another episode of That Sweet, Sweet Lore of Warcraft.